Welcome to Pen Positive. This is Vinod Narayan. Today, let's talk about emotional intelligence. If you're working in a company, if you're working in a corporate sector, that is a term that you would have come across either in talks, maybe in the company as part of their training programs, they would have spoken about emotional intelligence. If you've been reading non-fiction books, you would have heard about emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? We know about emotions, we know about intelligence. Emotional intelligence is about understanding our emotions, our feelings, and how we can manage them for in a positive way. We all have emotions. We have fear, we have sadness, we get angry, we get irritated. And if we don't understand our emotions, what happens is it impacts our work, it impacts our professional and personal lives, it impacts our relationships, it impacts our productivity. So, emotions are very closely tied to what we can deliver, the way we live, the way we connect. And so, it's very important. So I will go through, as in all videos, I'll go through a few points and maybe I'll share some experiences from my life as well. The first point is self awareness is step one. How do we even know what emotion we have? There are a lot of people I've seen who are not self aware. And I've seen a lot of people who are self aware. Introspection is not easy for some people. And whenever I say about self awareness, there are times when I get irritated and it shows up and it impacts the work I produce. There are relationships with people that I have, and sometimes the emotions that I carry with me, like maybe I have some kind of a resentment over something in the past, and that impacts my relationship with people. So it creates a very difficult situation for me to work. And the best way that I've been able to overcome that is talking to people. And sometimes talking to someone that you trust enables you to be more self aware. And we're not born self aware, these are skills that we can actually learn. And there are times when I am very self aware, there are times when I am not self aware. There are some emotions I can control and I can regulate better, but there are some other emotions I just don't have the strength to regulate. So, understanding that when I'm self aware doesn't mean that I just improve myself. When I'm self aware, what I feel is that I have a better understanding of the situation. What works for me, what doesn't work for me, what are the things I need to work on. That helps a lot. So, I think we all need to be practice self awareness rather than before we say whether this person is self aware or the other person is not. I think independently, individually, we should try to be practice self awareness. The next point is pause before you react. When we get so angry and we type an email, they say that don't send the email to the recipient. Send it to ourselves. Maybe have another account and send the email there, and then read that email after some time, and that would help you. There was a day in which I had some interaction with someone at work, and I wrote a big post, and I wanted to post it in LinkedIn. But then I decided that no, and I sent it to my boss. I mean, in fact, this was an interaction I had with my boss. So I sent it to my boss itself, and I said, you know what? We had a conversation, we had an interaction earlier, and I was not very comfortable with that whole conversation. And I wrote this post, but I don't want to post it on LinkedIn. I'm going to share it with you because I wanted him to know that this is how I felt after that interaction. He replied and said that, good, sit on it for a week, and if you still think that you need to post it, post it. So I never posted it. So he was telling me that, sometimes you have to just pause before you react. And that's very important. And in emails, it's much more easier because you write the email, you went out, and then you can pause. Then you can not send it, decide not to send it. But in communications and interactions, it becomes very difficult because we we start because you have to react at that point of time. And I've always asked myself, why do I react? Why do I not pause? Sometimes I don't pause because it is my emotion, maybe my irritation, my anger, my fear, some of my emotions that is forcing me to not pause and and just react to what I feel. And that's also something that I personally think that I need to work on. And the other day I was writing something. I said that we have to be very comfortable with our surroundings if we want to pause and not react. It is our insecurities that make us react. If we are not insecure, we don't need to react. We can pause. We can let things go. Sometimes we cannot. Empathy is a leadership superpower. What is being empathetic? Understanding how other people feel, understanding how our actions impact other people. And empathy is a super skill. Leaders definitely have to be empathetic. We used to have a industry. There, in the industry, normally people used to say that you have to be ruthless. Maybe, yes, there are some people who are ruthless who become successful. But now, in the age of knowledge workers, where people people are so important within organizations, it is very important for leaders to be empathetic, to be considerate, to understand how people working in that organization feel about working in that organization, how people feel about a person's leadership. Forget about leaders. Even when we work in a company, we live in a community, we have to be empathetic towards other people's feeling. We cannot say that this is how we want it and this is how we will do it. There might be some cases where we would not give a lot of leverage for other people's thoughts and opinions. But in a general state, I think we need to be considerate about other people's feelings. And that is what empathy is. If we introspect, we'll find out that there are times when we feel empathetic. There are times we are not that empathetic. And these are all skills that can be learned. These are all things that we can improve. These are all habits that we can practice, we can build up within ourselves. And if you're a leader, if you are in a leadership position, being empathetic is very important. Next one, name it to tame it. So this is a concept that Daniel Siegel came out with. Name it to tame it is, if you have an emotion, you first name it. I am feeling irritated or I am feeling angry. And what I found is that the moment you name that emotion, the moment you say, I am angry, you're accepting that you're angry. When you accept you're angry, you don't really have to react on that anger. The reaction and everything with that emotion is no more alien to you. It is yours because you're accepting that you're angry. You don't have to hide your anger. You're just saying that, yes, I'm angry. You could even tell the other person, I'm feeling irritated, I'm feeling angry. Can I just go for a walk? And and walks are really good because sometimes to get us off our irritation, our anger, sometimes we just need to be with ourselves. And the best thing is to go out, walk. If you can afford that, that's the best way to do it. And I think naming it makes a lot. If you fear, right? If you're afraid about something, saying that I am afraid about so and so, that's okay. You can be afraid. And I think it's good that we are acknowledging that we're naming that emotion. We're naming that situation. And by naming it, we can slowly start regulating it, taming it. You can read more about Daniel Siegel's Name It to Tame It. Finally, understand before you want to be understood. There are many times I've had conversations with people and I always feel, why can't that person understand me? Because my goal is always to be understood rather than to understand. Arguments, conversations that go into heated debates is because everyone wants to be understood. No one wants to understand. And this again comes back to that whole concept of feeling secure. It's about insecurities. I think I'm ready to understand other people if I'm very secure with who I am, with the surroundings, with this conversation, with the other person and everything. The moment I'm insecure, I tend not to understand. I remove understanding aside and I always want the other person to understand me because I'm insecure. And I think it's very important for us to understand before we ask ourselves to be understood. So, with that, I'll leave you. Think about emotional intelligence. Think about your insecurities, securities. Think about practicing empathy, naming it to tame it. And I think this is all a learning process. Every week, I'm trying to share some concept with you, share some of my life's experience. I don't know how far this might be interesting to people, but if you find this video interesting, if you find this episode interesting, please do subscribe to this channel. I'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you.